Hi guys, welcome to this masterclass on question 1 for the CIE English language reading paper. So I'm going to talk you through, first of all, a few reminders of what question 1 is asking you to do and on what it's testing you on. And then I'm going to give you a question 1 that I would like you to have a go at. You can find that linked underneath this video. Okay, so question 1 is in 2 parts, and it tests really 2 main things. It tests your comprehension, so the understanding of the text that you read, and it tests your ability to summarize in question 1F. For this question, you'll need to read 2 texts, text A and text B, and text C is for question 2 and question 3. So the first part of question 1 is always a comprehension task broken into smaller parts. So for question 1 comprehension section, which is 1A to E, you'll need to read text A, and then you'll need to read each sub-question and find the relevant evidence. Remember that if the question specifies using your own words, you must use your own words. So pay attention to the number of marks available as well. If the question is worth 3 marks, make sure that you're saying 3 things. There are 15 marks for this part of the exam for comprehension, for showing your understanding of what you're reading. So you'll see some examples on the left-hand side here, things like give 2 examples of this. Using your own words, explain what the text means by this. Give 2 reasons why the characters do this, right? So for each of the papers that you do, each of these questions will be worded quite differently. You just need to read the question, find the evidence that it's referring to, show that you understand it by using your own words. And then the second half of question 1 is the summary section. So for this, you'll need to read text B and you'll need to find 10 pieces of evidence that are relevant in that text, and then write a summary of all of your evidence, and all of that needs to be in your own words. The challenging thing about question 1F is that you need to write really concisely in as few words as possible, really, because it says in the question your summary should not be more than 120 words. So there are 10 marks for reading for your evidence and 5 marks for writing for this summary. So do focus in question 1F as well on making your writing nice and concise and accurate, because that's going to help you pick up more of those 5 marks. Okay, so let's have a look at a question 1 together today. So we're going to answer this question 1. You have 2 articles about mines that you need to answer some questions on to show your comprehension and your ability to summarize. So first passage A is all about working underground. And then you have question 1A to E underneath. You'll notice that some of these have more than one part to them for you to answer. Then you have text B, which is all about the Chilean miner disaster. And question 1F, what made the miners believe a higher power was involved in their rescue? Summarize in not more than 120 words. Okay. So I will read the passage A to you, and I'm going to get you to have a go at the questions that follow it. Then I'll read passage B to you and get you to have a go at the questions which follow that. Passage A. This passage describes the feelings and experiences of a young pitman or coal miner working in dangerous conditions underground. Unhurried, the miners are squatting on their haunches, half leaning, half sitting against a wall. There's the last desperate gasp of fresh air. Having already picked up their identity checks, they hand in the number on one round tab and attach the other to their oil lamp. This simple safety procedure is a way of registering the men underground. It's a routine which makes no attempt to conceal the daily potential for disaster. There must have been a dozen strikes at the colliery over that winder. People used to stagger off the cage vomiting when it reached the bottom. Of course, it's not just me. Most people don't like the journey down into a cavity big enough to take 3 double-decker buses. People go very quiet in the cage. You'll find people in animated discussion just prior to, and then actually stepping on the cage. But as soon as they know everybody is on, it changes. I always go quiet at that time. Other people tell jokes, trying to get away from the thought of it, you know. When the cage lifts up and basically hangs at the surface with no support, you have a minute to steel yourself. You know it's going to come. At that moment, it's a terrible thing. One time, men were being wound down our shaft when a new electric circuit on the new winder malfunctioned and the automatic stop came on. The men felt themselves falling, maybe 7 meters. You can imagine the consternation in that small, packed iron box as they hurtled down the shaft. On rushing over to see management about this incident, I was assured that it was all hysterics. To them, it was a silly incident which had given us an excuse to come out of the pit and hope to be paid our wages. The fact that many men would not return to work for many days escapes them. However one seeks to, one cannot escape the dread, the loitering presence of death, the tragedy of the dust, a thick, impenetrable deluge of dust. Oddly, the unwitting concentration on physical discomforts helps to allay imaginary ones. Carelessly buckled knee pads, for example, their straps constantly rubbing, irritate the skin. Sometimes this occupies the senses and it's possible to even forget why and where and what could happen. Working in the pit, I was in a seam that averaged a metre. That means you're working on your knees all day. In that dingy graininess, the underground world seems curiouser and curiouser. Great boulders above your head are being held by nothing at all other than the whim of the earth. Hundreds of metres deep. So deep that numbers don't matter anymore. The earth is pried open for our industrial convenience. How long will it accept the indignity? Unremitting shadowy images trigger fears of the dark, or being caught in cramped spaces. Okay, so that's your text A. Underneath text A, you will find questions 1A to E. You can pause now and answer those questions. Let's have a look at text B together. So text B is always on the same topic as text A. Sort of on the same topic, so you'll notice this one is also about miners. It's about the Chilean mine disaster. Chile's San Jose mine collapsed on August 5th, 2010, trapping 33 miners underground. This passage describes the miners' belief that a higher power allowed them to be rescued. When Chile's San Jose mine collapsed on August 5th, 2010, people around the world were fixated on the fate of the 33 miners trapped 2,300 feet underground. The miners would end up spending 69 days below the Earth's surface before rescuers brought them all to safety. As everyone celebrated the rescue of the 33 miners, many pointed to a higher power, a 34th miner, who they say was with them all along. In the aftermath of the rescue, those involved have recounted seemingly inexplicable miracles during their time underground and credited God with protecting them. God, many of them say, was the 34th miner. Jorge Gallegos, a miner from Copiapo, Chile, recalled making the sign of the cross in front of an image of the Virgin Mary that had been placed near the entrance to the mine. The miners asked her for protection every shift before descending into the lower levels of the mine. The day of the collapse, like any other day, Gallegos paid his respects to the Virgin Mary and headed into the mine. During this particular shift, Gallegos said he heard warning cracks, but continued working. He recalled seeing something like a white species, a butterfly, falling diagonally in the mine, like a paper. It was likely a bit of white quartz, but in local culture, a white animal is a sign that God is present. The miners ate 1 can of tuna per day, splitting each can between the 33 of them. You have to have faith, Gallegos said. You can never lose your faith. Faith is nourishment. Faith is life. After weeks of drilling, the rescuers were getting closer to the miners. Then the drill halted, just feet from reaching the miners. There was no forward or backward motion. It's like, did we come this far and go through all this and this damn thing is stuck here, said Richard Sopp, a manager with Centre Rock Inc. Then, without any effort from the rescuers, there was a pop and it started moving again. Brandon Fisher, owner of Centre Rock, led a team of drilling experts to help free the miners. I remember there was a loud bang on the backside of the control panel, Fisher said. Everyone just kind of stopped at one point in time and looked around. We still don't know what that noise was, he said. Okay, so now you need to answer question 1F, which is our summary question. What made the miners believe a higher power was involved in their rescue? As you'll remember, there are 10 marks for reading, so there are 10 marks for collecting evidence. So the first thing you need to do is to go through the text and start to highlight the evidence that you think you have here that the miners believed there was a higher power involved in their rescue. Again, pause the video here, highlight your evidence, and then come back and you can compare to the evidence that I'm going to highlight now. Okay, so I'll have a look for evidence that there is a higher power involved in the rescue, the things that make the miners believe this. So I'm going to highlight first of all the 69 days below the Earth's surface. Just the idea that they managed to survive for so long is part of what makes them believe this, I think. This line about a 34th miner who they say was with them all along. Those involved have recounted seemingly inexplicable miracles. The Virgin Mary near the entrance of the mine. The fact that he paid his respects to the Virgin Mary at the entrance of the mine on the day. The white species, a butterfly. The fact that a white animal is a sign of God in local culture. This quote from Gallegos about nourishment, faith is nourishment, faith is life. And then the pop on the drill. The drill got stuck and then suddenly something got it moving again. Oh, not yellow. And here. So I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There we go. 11. That means that we've got enough evidence now to put into our summary. As you're writing your summary, really focus on using your own words and on writing as concisely as you can. I look forward to seeing your work.